Welcome back to the Battle Buddies podcast, where we believe you should not take on the world alone. It's been a hot minute since we've been here.
Indeed.
It's good to have you back, Adam. I know last episode you were I don't even remember where you were last. Oh, you were doing camps. That's right.
That's right.
So we owe our wonderful viewers an apology because we have been out for the last couple of weeks. I know I've started doing some clips and pieces from episodes. I hope people are liking those, just to fill the gap, I suppose. I did an episode with my brother. It was just awful. Don't listen to it. It's terrible. It's no good. Don't do it. It's a bad idea. Don't listen to that episode. It's the worst episode ever.
Wasn't it literally titled "Don't listen to this one"?
I mean, yeah,
something like that.
Yes, yeah. So take the episode's advice. Just don't do it. Anyways, it's been a little while. I suppose we should tell everyone why it's been a little while. Well, first off, coronavirus is a thing, and I know for the first couple of weeks you were doing camps, right? You were doing camps for a while, and those are all freaking day.
I also graduated high school.
Oh yeah, that's right. You graduated.
There were a series of several things that caused us to miss.
Yes. So you graduated. You did. Was that this? Did you graduate while doing camps?
I graduated, and then the week after I started camps.
Oh, dang. Yeah. So camps, and then I think it was still while you were just finishing up camps, then I go to work one day, and I think, oh, man, my head hurts, and every class is getting worse, and I feel body aches, and I feel a sinus headache, and I'm going to go home. And I had the Rona, so that was interesting. So I was gone for a couple of days with that, and then of course my sister gets it too, and my brother gets it as well. Well, he doesn't live in the same house, but and so I was gone for a little while, and I had to fill in for him. But then you just recently had a fun reason to be gone for a little while. Tell us about that.
Yeah, so this past weekend I was in Los Angeles training with the John Whitman. And
he actually did the test. That's crazy.
Yes. Which is surprising.
You got it straight from the source, right from the mountaintop.
Yes, it's amazing. And did my Krav Maga level 2 certification. And then on our way back, promptly had our flight delayed just so many times. And that was a fun time.
I've been there.
But the even more fun time was the Krav.
You heard about... Sorry, this is off topic. I want to hear about the Krav test, but you heard about what happened when I did Flora's Lava, right?
I think I did. Did you have to stay overnight?
Oh yeah. So no, it was so much better than that, because the day of, I told the people, hey, just so you know, I am going to be. My flight is at 9, so we need to get out of there fairly quickly. And they said, oh yeah, no problem. We got out of there at 8. I think 8 o'clock.
Ooh.
So we had to rush to the airport. It was about a half an hour drive. No, probably less than that. But we got to the airport, and I had pretty much just enough time if I rushed through, because it was during still lockdown times. And so everyone was out everyone was not going to the airport because scary. So I thought, I'll get in, no problem. I get in line. The first 3 trips I made to and from LA were easy, almost no lines. I get in line and it's packed.
Oh man!
And I thought afterwards, oh dummy, it's what was it? Labor Day. That's right. It was Labor Day. So I went, oh, of course, it's a holiday. No wonder it's packed. And it was, I think, the day of the holiday too, if I remember correctly. And I went, well, I'm just going to wait and see what happens. So I get to the front of the line, and they say, nope, the flight's already closed off. And I say, well, shoot. How about I go on this flight? And the lady working with me says, sure, but I'll be right back. And she leaves. She comes back half an hour later.
Oh, man.
And I say, I'll take that flight now. And she says, oh, no, that one left too. Because it was to Sacramento. And my car was in San Jose, but I figured, okay, whatever, I'll have someone else, I'll have my brother come pick me up or whatever. And then that one was canceled too, and I went, well, poop. I guess I just take the next flight. And she says, no, they're all done for today.
Dang.
So seriously, I have to wait in the airport all night. And she says, no, you can't wait in the airport. Yeah, you can't get in until, I think, 3 hours before your flight. So I couldn't even wait in the airport. So I went down into the outside airport. You know, the LA airport's pretty big.
Yeah.
And I found this little hidey hole where I laid down and slept like a homeless person for multiple hours until I was able to go in. That was that was an interesting day.
Wow.
I didn't sleep very well, but without saying too much, because I don't know what we're allowed to say. How was the Krav test?
Yeah, well, they didn't tell us, like, oh, you're sworn to secrecy about these things. They never told us anything about that. There was a lot of technical stuff that I learned, whether it was polishing up a technique or learning a different variation of a technique and why that variation might be better as opposed to a different variation, or just a different way to escape something. And the technical stuff was great. But really, the main thing that I learned was not really even something that they taught, but it was really just about how important it is to be humble, because there's always so much more to improve.
Yeah. I mean, you have John freaking Whitman himself, who is one of the greatest Krav Maga practitioners, I think, of our age, and he is so humble. He is so humble of a guy. Whether you're I remember you were talking to me about how just talking with him in general, he's not someone who says, all right, and this is the way to do it. This is what you must do. He's more of a, this is my opinion, which is a pretty well-educated opinion, you could say. But at the same time, he's so willing to let other people be in the spotlight. It's so cool. I've loved every interaction I've had with him. He's just amazing. An amazing instructor, an amazing coach, and an amazing individual, really. Such a cool guy who's done so many crazy things, and yet he's extremely humble.
Yeah.
It's really cool.
Yeah. Just like interacting with him, you can tell how humble he is. Just he's as great of a Kravis as he is. He's also just like a guy.
Yeah.
And like I don't say that to like belittle him. I say that to like build him up, because it's like he's so good at Krav and he's so good at teaching Krav, but you talk to him and it's just like talking to anyone else.
Yeah. He's one of those dudes who every time you get to work with him you go, man, I'm going to learn something really cool. But at the same time, I remember going to conferences with him and taking his seminar, and then going into the next room and doing another seminar, and there he is training and learning. He's a textbook. John Whitman is a textbook martial artist. If you were to say this is what a martial artist should be, that's pretty much him. Humble, respectful, very good at what he does, but always open to improvements and learning. He's not, he's, whether you think it's a good part of martial arts, he's progressive in martial arts. He believes in change and finding the best possible way to do something, which I know is very, very big, a very big part of what Krav Maga is. And, he could kill you if he wanted, but he's very humble and very courteous about what he does. He's just a great guy. We could rave about him all day.
Yeah, I mean, I wish I could talk about more what I learned, but I don't know if you can teach Krav over a podcast.
Probably not. Yeah. Okay, so you got to do this technique. No, I'm just kidding.
Also, that's not the primary thing of what we're here to talk about.
Yeah. Anyways, that's a wonderful, wonderful rabbit trail we've embarked on. Thank you for following me on this journey.
Yes, sir.
Our actual theme for today, and I hope you guys stuck around, because what I want to go through today is I'd like to do a couple of episodes on charisma. And I think that building charisma and building not just enthusiasm with your persona, but building your personality to be able to help other people and influence other people is such a an underused tool, but also such an underrated tool that most people don't think that much about, because we have so much sway that we can have if we just learn to relate to people and come at them from a level that they understand. And we'll talk a little bit more about that as time goes on. But kind of what I wanted to talk about today is how to build rapport with pretty much anyone, how to build rapport with somebody and how to get them into more of a trusting relationship. Although I'll talk about trust in a future episode as well. I want to do a full episode on just getting people to trust you and listen to you and how to be effective in the specifics of influencing people. And full disclaimer, of course, I have been trying to train, for lack of a better term, my charisma for the last couple of years. A lot of my inspiration and content for today from two sources. Number one is a book by Dale Carnegie called How to Win Friends and Influence People, which is an amazing book. I think that's something that everyone should read once in their life. Everyone should read that. That should be in schools. If it isn't already, I don't know. I didn't go through the public school system. I assume you never read it because we were just talking about you haven't read it yet.
I did not read it in public school.
But an amazing look at fundamental human psychology, but also just how people relate to people. And so that's a big one. And another one is a wonderful YouTube channel that I've watched for years called Charisma on Command. And they give breakdowns of how to pretty much anything charisma related, and it's two guys and they're both very, very good at what they do. And the best part about it is they kind of modernize it. Instead of just telling you about it, sometimes they'll do lessons, sometimes they'll have an sometimes they'll have an analysis of a famous celebrity or something like that. So if you're looking for more on charisma and sort of a soundbite-esque and sort of broken down more specific ways, go check out Charisma on Command and read the book. Read Dale Carnegie's book, How to Win Friends and Influence People. Those two things I can recommend wholeheartedly if you're looking to work on your charisma. And by the way, How to Win Friends and Influence People, free audiobook on YouTube. Just go to YouTube, look up How to Win Friends and Influence People. You can listen to the whole book there. So totally recommend that you guys do that. What I like to do today is break down the steps. I have a couple of them listed here and sort of lay out what are the ways that you first introduce yourself to someone. You've probably heard the phrase already, you don't get a second chance to make a first impression. And so it's important that whenever you're meeting someone, whether it be someone you're interested in maybe a romantic relationship, maybe it's a professional relationship, maybe it's a superior, maybe it's a parent in your workplace who you want to, if you're teaching kids and you want this parent to, the one who pays the bills, to stick around, well, you have to build a good relationship. You have to build rapport with them. And so pretty much wherever you go, this is an important skill to have. So I want to break down the pieces that are involved there. And the first one I think is just smile. Smile and say hi. Of course, the first part of any interaction, whenever I meet someone, is I look them in the eyes and I say, hi, my name is Gabe, and I smile and shake their hand. Because the first part is you want people to trust you. And if you give a real, genuine smile, that's already in the right direction. We've talked already about your physiology, but your physiology and your physiognomy in particular tells a lot about who you are. So if you go up to someone and, glance at their eyes and then look away and turn around like you got something better to do, they're going to get that impression that you don't really value their time. But when you use your physiognomy to tell them, hey, I care about what you're saying, then it shows them that, hey, this person actually maybe means well. And you already are off to a good start. So the first one is definitely smile. The second part is your introduction. Of course, you say their name. And here is where the most life or death situation part of the conversation happens. They're gonna usually say their name back. And I say usually because I've had some really awkward conversations. By the way, let me pause because I forgot something really important. When training to have conversations with people, you are going to have awkward conversations. That was one of the biggest things my boss told me when Renshi Matt said that, it was like a weight off my shoulders. You're going to have awkward conversations, and let them happen. Let them happen. It happens. The parent won't mind. They'll probably forget about it a lot faster than you will, because you're the one who is embarrassed by it. But be okay having some awkward conversations, because they're going to happen, and that's how you get to better, more fruitful conversations. So I've had my share, and I'm sure you have too. Plenty of awkward conversations with people of all ages. And it's important to remember that these awkward conversations are going to happen. Anyways, so after I was like, why did I segue there? Oh yeah, I was going to say I've had some people who I say, hi, my name is Gabe, and they say hi. And it's really awkward. Anyways, that's besides the point. So you say your name, and they're gonna say their name, and that is the most important part of the conversation. The most important part is when they say their name, you listen and you remember. The name is one of the strongest and most powerful words that you can use to someone else. The name is so important that I'd say that's 90% of the conversation. The importance of the conversation is locked up right there in the name. When you meet someone, remember their name. I cannot say that enough. The person who remembers others' names will get so much further. And it's important to remember. So one of the things I like to do, because I've had plenty of conversations where I say, hi, what's your name? And they say Patricia. And then I'm like, and I already forgot, because what was my mind on? Getting to the next part of the conversation. And I already lost it. The name's gone. It's never coming back. And I have a bad memory, so I need to remind myself of it. So what I'll do is I'll hear their name and I'll repeat it to them. Especially if which I hate doing, but it happens, of course, when I ask them for the second time. If I'm talking to them and I say, what's your name again? And they say Patricia. I'll say, Patricia, that's right. I'm sorry, Patricia, I forgot your name. Patricia, how's the day going today? There were 3, repetition equals mastery. So there's 3 repetitions I got right there. So it's good for you to say the name in the conversation. When you meet someone, you say it back to them. It's building that muscle memory in association with them. So you see them and you say their name, and now you're starting to relate the two together. They start forming a memory in your mind, starting to, carve out that pathway. So saying the name with the conversation is important, because it'll help you kind of build that rapport. It'll help you build that rapport early on, even at the first interaction. I know a couple of people who use the name multiple times in a conversation, and it kind of feels good, because your name is the way that people show that they know you, right? And that's what people want, is to be known. So when you show someone that you remember their name, especially if it's been a day or 2 or even a week, and they come back and you say, hi, Patricia, already you're off to a better start, because they know that you care and you're trying to remember, and they mean something to you. They meant something to you, at least in that interaction. So don't forget the name. The most important thing we're going to talk about today is don't forget the name. And then another part on that is friendly touch. And friendly touch can mean a lot of different things depending on who you are. So my love language is touch. I am one of those people who I do a lot of, I have a lot of physical contact, which I know makes some people uncomfortable when there are things going on like pandemic. So you have to moderate, but something like a handshake, or if even that's too much for someone, if you can kind of tell they're not really for that, go in for the fist bump. Go in for the fist bump instead, and that works as well. And as the relationship grows and the trust builds, then you can go to more touch. And I'm not saying that you're going to go up to them and give them a hug or something, unprofessional, I suppose. So use it wisely. But I might go to them, and when I shake their hand, I'll put my other hand on their shoulder just as a way of saying, hi, I'm here. Or as I walk by them, I'll say, tap, how are you doing? Or something like that. So don't be afraid of touch as long as you do it universally, as long as you do it to everyone. Because otherwise, if you do it to one person, you're going to seem like a creep. So make sure if you're gonna use touch, it's universal touch, as in I'm going to do it to everybody. So friendly touch is important. And that's your start of the conversation, is the introduction. Part 1, Hi, my name is so-and-so. My name is so-and-so. Nice to meet you. From there, we go into what I like to call the make them talk phase, which is most conversations that you have. If you're looking to build rapport with someone, most conversations should not be dominated by you. Because who really wants to hear you talk? Let's be honest for a sec. Do they really want to hear you just babble on about your martial arts experience and how cool you are and how long you've been? Not really. They want to hear about, they want to talk about what they want to talk about, and they want to talk about them or their kids or whatever else it is. So I always recommend once the conversation starts and the names are established and it's starting to go forward, spend some time asking questions. So let me give you an example. When a new parent will come in here looking for information, what I will never do is give them information right off the bat. If they say, I'm looking for info about your program, or I'd like to inquire about your prices or anything like that, I'll never give that right off the bat. My first question is always going to be, what made you interested in our program? Or how'd you hear about us? Either one of those. Or what in particular were you looking for to get out of your student, out of yourself, or whatever? Because now it's shifted to them and they're the ones, A, leading the conversation, but B, now I'm getting information about what do they want? What kind of things am I going to talk about? Because if they say, I'm looking for my student or for my, I'm looking for my student to get discipline, now I can say, great, discipline is one of the big things we work on here. Boom. Already they're saying, and I guess this is more a lesson in sales than anything, already they're saying this is the right place for me, right? And so building that rapport is really done by getting them to talk and getting them to share their side. I know we've talked about letting the other person talk more already, but just remember that when they're talking and sharing information with you and telling them about their self, it's almost like I don't know if cathartic is the right word, but it's a positive experience, if nothing else. It's a positive experience where they're relating that experience to you and thus relating the positive feelings they receive to you. So you are that positive feeling now for them. So when they see you already, they see, oh, I like this person. Subconsciously, because they think of the memories that they've been sharing with you and they can relate that subconsciously to you. So let them talk, but also if it's a deeper conversation, like a problem-solving conversation. I know we were just talking about this earlier today. Mm-hmm. I don't want to be the one who gives them the solution. I'm going to let them come to the solution. So let them talk and let them figure it out themselves, and they'll come to something, and maybe you'll guide them along the way. So get them talking about them. So the next question would be, what kind of questions should I ask? What kind of questions can I ask? And I'd say your best bet is to find what interests them. Find the interests that they have. So off the top of your head, Adam, what are 3 interests of yours?
Martial arts.
Martial arts, good
basketball, and cats.
Cats. I like it. So my question to you would be something along those lines. So maybe I'd say, Adam, in your time doing martial arts, have you ever had a moment where you go, this actually kind of relates to music? It's just a really random one. That was the first one that came to my head.
Have I ever had a time where I felt martial arts related to music? Yeah, because the rhythm of the fight or the rhythm of your punches or whatever it is that you're doing relates to rhythm and music.
Yep, I do counting when I'm practicing my timing teeps. I'll be like 1, 2, 3, kick. 1, 2, 3, kick. Yeah, so exactly. It's important to figure out what people are interested in. And so what are some ways that we can figure out what people are interested in? Well, first one is their appearance. What are they wearing? What kind of things do they look like? Do they have, what kind of things do they wear? Do they have specific, maybe A's hat on, or do they have a Star Wars shirt or anything like that I can use as a first piece? I like to say that it's easy for us to cheat because we have whenever a parent comes in particular, we already have one thing that they all have in common that they are interested in. They all have a kid. All the parents have a kid. So that's one thing that you can talk about that can be a conversation starter that they're most likely passionate about. Or maybe they'll tell you about all the things that their kid is doing wrong. And so now they're venting to you and they see you as kind of a confidant. But it's important to find the things that people are interested in and go from there.
Another thing that can help a lot is, I guess in a way, kind of being a scientist. And I'm getting this from a video that I watched once. The title of the video was something along the lines of 300 observations in a month, some sort of challenge or something like that. But essentially what the gist of it was, this guy wanted to learn more about people and how to interact with people better. And so what he did is challenge himself to have 300 interactions with people in 1 month. And by interactions, it could be as simple as a hello, or it could be as complicated as some deep conversation about the meaning of the universe. But while he was having these interactions, he would make observations about what is it that people do? What is it that makes people tick? What is it that I can do that can lead more towards a positive interaction? Or what's something that I should avoid that might lead towards an ending of an interaction? And so it's something you can challenge yourself to do as you're going about your days, weeks, months. Try to interact with as many people as you can. Now, it doesn't have to be 300 a month. It could be 100 in a week or whatever you want to do, and just observe people.
Off of that, it's just practice. That's all it is. What he's doing is repetition. I love it when people say, I don't love it. It makes me kind of annoyed, but it's funny when people say, oh, it's not that simple. It is that simple. It's repetition. That's all it is. You want to get better at almost anything, just repeat it. It's important to get into your mind the ability to talk as well, because the conversation can't all be you. Can't just be you talking the whole time. So here's one piece that's important, sort of off of what you're saying about the interactions, figuring out what works. There's a new thing I'm going to start trying that I got actually from Charisma on Command, and it was try to make the conversation last 10 seconds longer if you're the one leading. Because if you're with someone who's not that comfortable with you yet, it might be a burden for them to keep the conversation going. If you can tell they're sort of running out of things to say, when you talk, maybe make the conversation last a little bit longer. So you ask me about my program, and I say, this is a program that I've been working on for, this is a program I've been a part of it for 16 years, and I loved every bit of it. I could stop there, or I could say, and you know what, also, it's been a blessing to be able to now teach people, and just taking a simple conversation and drawing it out a little bit so that they feel a little bit more comfortable that it's a two-sided street. It's not just them talking all the way. So when I say have them talk most of the time, I mean most of the time, not all of it. Give it, let's say 70-30. They spend 70% of the time talking. And you should spend a little time talking too, but at the right times. If you find yourself blabbing on, you're doing it wrong. Almost undoubtedly, unless you have some monologue-ish spiel you have to give to them. If you find yourself talking and talking and talking, and you can, especially if you look at them, if you're aware of how they act, you'll start to see some eyes glaze over and you might lose their interest. Now, not everyone, of course. There are some times where you can get away with it, but be careful with it. Yeah, be careful, because you can lose someone's interest real quickly. We have a very short attention span, even us adults too. We have a short attention span. And if you lose it, you lose it pretty much for good. And then, of course, now I'm building negative rapport with them, because now they think every time I'm with this person, I'm going to have a boring conversation. So it's important to keep the lines intact. Anyways, back to the whole question thing, because I think this is another one of the bigger pieces that we need to talk about. The questions that you should ask should be specific. And I like to spicy up questions. This is just a side note for me. I don't know if I've talked about this yet, but I like to spicy up my questions. I don't like boring questions. So instead of saying, how are you, which people get every day, I'll say, how'd the week go? Something simple like that. Or maybe that's not a good example. Maybe I say, instead of saying, how are you, I'd say, how's life been treating you for the last couple of days? Something that people don't hear every single day. Because if they hear the same generic answer, they're going to give the same generic response. But if I give them an opportunity to change it up a little bit, then they're going to be more receptive to giving a better response to you. So give them questions that are specific and maybe some that are a little bit more, a little bit more lively, I suppose. Put more life into what you do. I know we've talked about this multiple times, but it's good to be able to ask what I call the question train. And the question train is, I'm going to ask a question that leads to a question, that leads to a question, that go as deep as you so desire. So if I ask them about let's say their kid, well, they'll give me an answer about how their kid is doing, and maybe they'll tell me about the kid has been really busy. And I'll say, okay, what are the kind of things that the kid has been busy with? Okay, well, they've been busy with soccer. Okay, is soccer going well? Are they enjoying soccer? Yes, they are. Okay, and of course, that was a closed-ended question, but maybe I'll move on to something else. But maybe I'll ask, have they been doing well in soccer? How has the practice been going? Or something like that. So asking questions that can lead to conversation, that can lead to more questions. That's kind of my job in the conversation. If I'm trying to build rapport with someone, I'll be mostly spending my time asking questions and letting them go, because they have only so much time, and why would I want to spend all the time talking about me? Why would they want to spend the time talking about me? They don't care about me, they care about them. And that's not a rip on human beings, that's just the way we are. Although it might be a little bit, we might be a little bit selfish, but if you know what the person wants, give it to them. And if you know what makes them happy, then why would you hold it back? So let them talk, let them be them for a little while, and maybe you're the only person that listens. So it's good to listen.
The best part is when you find that one thing that they're really passionate about.
It's like a superpower. You're like, I am the master of conversing. But of course, you still get awkward ones. Don't forget that. You still get awkward ones, even if you're good at it. I still have I don't think I'm a master at conversations, but I still get awkward conversations almost every day. So don't be afraid of them. Don't be afraid. So back to the physiognomy. I think another part of it is this is going to sound a little weird, but how you angle your body matters. I like to sit next to people if I can help it. I'll always sit next to them as opposed to in front of them, because in front of them is an adversarial position, and people's personal space. Here's a good tip for you. People's personal space bubbles extend way more in front of them than they do off to the sides. So if you're off to the side of someone, you can probably get a little bit closer than you could straight in front of them, right? Because if I'm standing maybe a foot away from you to your left, you're just going to think, okay, well, they're close. But if I'm standing a foot away from you right in front of you, you're going to say, get the heck back, right? So it's a good thing to remember. I like to get to the side of people, but it also shows that kind of I'm on your side, I suppose, for lack of a better way of putting it. And then be an engaged listener. Be an engaged listener. Look at them and acknowledge what they say and keep eye contact. And one of my things that I've been trying to practice of recent is acknowledging them, not just with a yeah or a uh-huh, but with something back. So I listen to their story and I maybe repeat back something they say, or I ask a question related to the story. But people love to have an engaged listener too, because it means what they're saying is important. So staying as an engaged listener is important for keeping that retention, and then they'll keep going probably.
Yeah, I read a book on negotiation once. It was actually written by a former FBI hostage negotiator, and he talked about this exact thing, which is building rapport. And something that he said about being a listener is repeating about the last 3 words of whatever it is the person said, or 3 words, 1 to 3 words. It doesn't have to be exactly 3 words of whatever it is, the most important thing that the person said. So if Gabe said, I have a cat named Donald.
I have a cat named Donald.
I say, oh, you have a cat named Donald. And
yes, I do.
That just shows that I was attentive and that I was listening, because I'm actually able to repeat back exactly what Gabe said.
I've heard that one. That one's really helpful. I like that one a lot. The last thing I wanted to go over, and I suppose we can wrap for today. It feels like a short episode, but we've been going for about 40 minutes so far. The last piece I think is very important in the conversation. Of course, if we were to talk about ending the conversation, ending a conversation is not as awkward as you, or it can be as awkward as you make it. Let me say that. Ending a conversation is as awkward as you make it to be. If you just have a conversation and you say, nice talking with you, and you walk away, that's it. But don't over finish, stand there for a bit. Oh, it's time for me to leave, walk away. So it's as awkward as you make it. So don't make it awkward. You can say, it was nice talking with you. It was good seeing you again. It was nice meeting you. Anything like that. And that's it. You don't need anything fancy. Don't feel like you got to stick around. Finish the conversation and be done. And walk away and admire your handiwork and go do something else. Or go find the next person to talk to. But I think the last piece to talk about sort of the entire time is just be genuine. Don't do this in order to gain good favor with them or anything like that. You should have no ulterior motives when talking with another human being besides I get to talk to another human being. And if you go at it from that standpoint, humans are so interesting. There's so much you have to learn from somebody else, and they've had so much life experience that you've never had, especially if they're older and they've lived longer. There's so many stories and so many lessons that they've learned that you might not have learned yet. So go into a conversation with, I might also get something out of this too. This isn't just about them. I'm learning as I go. One, I'm learning because I'm practicing my social skills and I'm building my charisma. But two, I'm learning from them and I'm picking more things up. And people are incredibly, incredibly interesting if you just get them talking. If you get them going, they'll teach you amazing things. Always be listening, but don't do it because you got something to gain. Always be listening because it's an important human being that has completely unique life experience. No one has lived like them before. No one will live like them after. And if you go at it from a standpoint of, I want to, I guess, take from you, take your knowledge, take your time, take your money, they're probably going to see through that. And I always have been told that for meeting famous people. I've gotten to meet my share of famous martial artists, which is pretty cool. But I've had some interactions with famous people, I suppose, that I've just screwed up. And I hate it because I go, man, looking back, that was stupid. So it's important to remember, go at them like they're human beings because that's what they are. And if you're trying to build rapport with them, treat them like a human being. That's what they want. Whether they're, Dolly Parton or your average Joe from off the street, they still want to be treated like a human. What's that?
Or Gabe's cat Donald.
Or my cat Donald. He wants to be treated like a cat, though. He doesn't want to be treated like a human being. He just wants. Although cats like attention too, so there you go. Yeah. Don't treat people like cats. I'm gonna stop this right now because this is gonna go so many crazy, scary places. That is all the time we have for today. If I keep going, things are gonna go wacky. Thank you guys for tuning in. It was wonderful to be back in our studio. Yes, our studio back here. I hope you guys liked. If you enjoyed, feel free to give us a like on the YouTubes. Feel free to check us out on Spotify. If you want to go to the YouTubes in particular, I'm starting to post more shorts. So if you want to listen to the parts of an episode, so I like to call it, to quote Mike Rowe, important information for the short attention span. If you want good information, or wait, no, what does he say? No, I think it's I think what Mike Rowe says is, I think it's life lessons for the short attention span or something like that. So if you want more condensed information, I'm going to be putting more of those up. I'll try to put one every week if I can, maybe every other week. Just starting to get some out of there. I'm trying to get into the rhythm of that. But if you guys have any questions, feel free to let us know. We'd love to hear from you. You can email us at thebattlebuddiespodcast@gmail.com. You can also find us on Facebook. You can find Adam on Instagram. There's lots of conversation we'd love to have with you guys involved as well. So if you'd ever like to hit us up with a question, feel free.